Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. I'm excited to see y'all.
Good morning. Am I the only one?
No,
Oh,
there's
okay. Let's.
yeah, there's about 10 of us on
Oh,
here.
I see. I see everybody. Okay.
Awesome. Welcome in, welcome in. Before we get started, I'll just kind of give you a little bit. We are recording this so that if some of you missed it or want to refer back to it later, then you'll be able to go back. And then if everybody could remain on mute until the very end, and then I'm hoping if I can get through everything, I'm hoping to have an opportunity to take on some questions towards the end. So that is my hope. Um, all right. So we will get started. I know that there are people who are still coming in, but I want us to make sure that we can get through everything that y'all came here for. So I'm going to share my screen with you. All right. So, welcome. My name is Dr. Kiki Ramsey, and this is a webinar called Beyond Buzzwords, a practical guide to building psychological safety in your teams. I can't tell you how excited I am that you are here. I think that this webinar is very, very relevant and prevalent at this time based on all the things that we are going through in our country. And so I would be remiss if I didn't say that there's this big elephant in the room, and we're going to address psychological safety in terms of what's happening in our country today. So we're going to do a quick introduction, why psychological safety matters, their manager's role, and then I'm going to leave you with 6 actionable steps because I truly believe that if you actually take these steps back to your organization, you will begin to create psychological safety within your organization. And so the goal for today is to truly help managers create a culture where employees feel safe to share their perspectives, contribute to projects, and take risk and grow. And I know that is a big goal, especially dealing with what we are dealing with in today's society. But nonetheless, I feel like we are really fighting what I call the good fight, and we're going to fight to still create psychologically safe organizations. And so I want to give you a brief introduction. Hi, I'm Dr. Kiki Ramsey. I am the founder and CEO of the Positive Psychology Coaching and Diversity Institute. Whew, it's a mouthful, aka PCADDY. I'm also an assistant professor at Life University, and I teach I teach in the Masters of Positive Psychology Coaching program, and I'm the host of the Dr. Kiki Ramsey Show. And I am the author of Get Courageous, A Woman's Guide to Finding Her Passions and Purpose in Life. What I would do is I finish, just introing myself just a little bit. I'd love to know your name, what role you play in your organization, and where are you currently located at right now. So I'd love to drop for you to drop that in the chat as I kind of tell you how I actually even got to the space where I am even doing a psychologically safe presentation for you today. I'm going to fast forward over a whole bunch of stuff, but I was in grad school, and this was several years ago. And, this tragedy happened while I was in grad school getting my PhD. And that was the murder of George Floyd. Now, I truly believe that we all we all deserve life. We all deserve for our words and our voices to be heard. We all deserve to have amazing relationships where we can show up to work and be our full selves. And that day when I showed up, I just couldn't believe what had happened. And I grappled a whole lot as to what to do. And I say this because I'm in grad school. There's a lot going on in my life. My husband's in grad school as well. We have 2 little ones in the household. And the least thing I needed was to try to start another company. But here I was stuck with this decision on whether I sit on what has happened in our country or whether I move. And some of you today may be faced with this same situation as whether you fold into a lot of what's going on, the threats, the fear, or whether you stay the course and stand firm on your values and what you believe and you move forward. Well, that day, with what had happened to George Floyd, I decided that I was going to stand firm on what I've always known. And I've always known that people matter. We all matter. We all belong here. And so I sat there and I started the Positive Psychology Coaching and Diversity Institute. Prior to this, I had been an entrepreneur for over 10 years, but I had been a solopreneur. At this time, I said, you know what? I have to do something more than just myself. And so I called up about 5 friends and I said, hey, I'm about to do a thing and I want to know if you want to do a thing with me. And all 5 of them said yes. And we launched the Positive Psychology Coaching and Diversity Institute. And now today we have served thousands of clients in Fortune 500 companies, small nonprofits, medium-sized organizations where we do diversity, equity, inclusion coaching and training with a DNI lens coupled with positive psychology, which we're going to talk about a little bit about that today. But I just wanted to give you that background because I know that some of you are here because there's a lot of decisions that you have to make, and there's a lot of things that are going on in our country right now where psychological safety is a big deal. And I had to make a decision back then. I still make a decision every day I wake up and come and still do this job. And you may be having to make a decision right now. And so I'm so glad that you are here. So let's talk about what psychological safety is. Because I know a lot of times you've heard this word potentially thrown around in your organizations and everything, but it's really this belief that one person can actually come to work and speak up. They can make mistakes. They can ask questions without fear of punishment or even humiliation or any kind of reprisal, right? Like it's the belief that we can show up and really say what we need to say respectfully, right? Like nobody's talking about disrespect here, but we're talking about literally coming to our place of employment, being able to show up in our authentic selves, even though we may be scared, even though we may be angry, even though we may be hurt, all of those things, right? That's psychological safety. It's my belief that I can show up and really be heard and understood in everything that's going on with me. And so, question for you is, what does psychological safety mean to you? I would love for you to drop that in the chat. And thank you all for dropping your actual bios and where you're tuning in from. I love to see that. Okay. So, why is psychological safety critical? I think we really all know this, but psychological safe workplaces, they prioritize trust. They encourage collaboration between amongst all of us, and we create an environment where everybody can actually thrive. But here's the misconception about psychological safety. It does not mean you avoid conflict. Right? We all are going to have some kind of conflict in our lives, in our daily jobs. I mean, right now there's so much conflict that is being ensued upon us on a daily basis that may not even be coming from within your organization, and you still have to deal with that, right? So it does not mean lowering your standards. It means fostering a productive, respectful dialogue, right? And allowing people to come to the table and have that dialogue. So I love this. How many of you know what this is? Of course, yeah, I see your hands, right? I love it. So we're gonna take you back to Psychology 101. Y'all remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So when you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you see love and belonging dead in the center. What does this actually mean? Because when you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, every last thing on this pyramid has to be it has to be, right? Meaning it has to come to fruition. We need everything on this pyramid. You need all your physiological needs taken care of. You have to feel safe. You have to feel love and belonging. You have to feel esteem. And then you have to, at some point, realize some of your goals, which is what self actualization is. So down here at the bottom, you got your basic needs. In the middle, you have your psychological needs. And then at the top, you have your self fulfillment needs. It all has to happen. So, what we're ultimately saying is that love and belonging is a must. You can't live without it. But yet and still, we may go about our day or our work day, and we feel like this doesn't have to be a part of our organizations. But we're wrong. And the moment we take psychological safety, belonging, love out of our organizations is the moment we start to lose. We start to lose productivity. We start to lose the bottom line. We start to lose relationships. We start to lose so many things the moment you strip belonging out of your organizations. And I know what's happening today, right? A lot of what's happening today is that that's trying to be stripped out of your organizations from the outside in, which is the reason why we're talking about psychological safety and how I can help you continue to maintain that or even create that if you haven't even had an environment of psychological safety within your organization. But let's go over a little bit of data because I love, as a positive psychologist, I love to make sure that we review the data. So teams with high psychological safety see 76% more engagement. I mean, like, that's mind blowing. And then 50% higher productivity. And this is Harvard Business Review. Like that is like when I look at statistics and I'm like, that is mind blowing to me that if your team feels safe enough to show up to work and safe that they can, speak up and share their thoughts and their feelings, that they feel 76% of them are going to be more engaged and 50% are going to have they're going to have a 50% more output in terms of their productivity. Those those numbers are game-changing numbers. Like to me, you would want psychologically safe organizations just based on this fact right here. But let's move on. Employees who feel safe at work are 2 times more likely to stay with their company long term. To stay, right? I mean, y'all know it can be very, very difficult to hire great talent. But, and so we've all heard that saying. But what I say is that it can be even more difficult to keep good talent, right? People leave organizations because they don't feel like they belong, period. Whether that's with a specific manager, with the organization as a whole, if they don't feel like they're contributing enough or being recognized, they leave. 2%. And then lastly, companies that foster psychological safety have higher innovation and problem-solving capabilities. That's what we all want, right? Like we all really do want for our employees to be able to come to work, innovate, share great ideas with everybody. That's what we want. And that's what the data says is if you do create an environment that is psychologically safe, then at the end of the day, they're going to innovate more and they're going to be able to solve problems even more. So creating a space using, you know, what I call positive psychology. I don't know if most of you have even heard of positive psychology, but when I ran across positive psychology, it absolutely changed my entire life. And so that's what we do here at PCADI is we help people learn how to ensue positive psychology within their organizations. And so positive psychology is a scientific study of what makes life most worth living. I always say positive psychology is what goes right with you versus what's wrong, right? So I'm gonna give y'all a quick baseline psychology lesson, right? So psychology has been around for hundreds, thousands of years. And so it's been around for a very, very long time. Psychology is a deficit model. It is inherently a deficit model. When you think about psychology, you think about depression, you think about anxiety, you think about all of the ailments, right? Well, if psychology is the baseline, which it is, the opposite of that is positive psychology, the study of strengths, the study of thriving, the study of happiness. And so positive leadership goes into this, which encourages managers to have a curious and open mind, a coaching like approach. This is what we call at PCADI positive leadership. So we want to help you create positively diverse leaders in your organizations. And so that's our ability to help you recognize your strength so that you can build better relationships and communicate better to ultimately become more inclusive. And that's using positive psychology. And why this is important is because within positive psychology, personal strengths are built into our capabilities, right? You all have strengths. If you know what your strength is, I would love, love, love. I call them superpowers because we all have them. I want you to drop your superpowers in the chat for me. So, can anybody guess what my strength might be? Anybody? I want to see if somebody can guess. So, like, I'll tell you. My presenting, I love it. Connecting with people. Thank you, Kimberly. That's awesome. Charisma. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. My actual number one strength is zest. I tell people, honey, I'm gonna show up zesty all the time. I can't help it, right? But thank y'all for that. So drop yours in the chat, right? Drop yours in the chat because here's the thing about positive psychology, it helps you use your personal strength every single day. And it helps you learn how to think, behave, and feel, right? Your personal strengths show up that way. Oh, I love this positive, building connection, optimism. Oh, I can see that. I love it. I love it. Understanding problems and finding solutions. Awesome. Oh, no judgment. That is great. Positive, optimistic connection with people. I love it. And organizations building connection, critical thinking. Perfect. I love it. I love it. These are all rooted in positive psychology because they're your strengths. And so positive psychology encourages individuals to reflect on their core strengths and utilize them to live a flourishing life. That's what we love to say, flourishing. In positive psychology. And so then a positively diverse leader uses their strength to aid in the growth and development of others, meaning we really help you talk about relationships, communication, so that you ultimately can become more inclusive. So let's talk about, now that we kind of talked about like how positive psychology can even help in creating psychologically safe organizations. Let's talk about the manager's role in psychologically safe organizations because a lot of you are managers. A lot of you may be on the senior leadership team, and you want to make sure that you are able to show up and then hopefully take this back to your organization as well and to your teams and lead from a place of strength. And so your role as a manager, of course, is to create the tone. I have sat in so many meetings recently with senior leaders, and everybody has questions about how to handle what's going on in our environment today. And their main goal is equipping the organization and their leaders with the skills that they need to be able to lead during this time. And so if you are a manager, your role is to set the tone. Like you are the person who your employees are coming to right now looking for answer. And so here's how you can actually create that. You can, number one, encourage open dialogue. I've been in a lot of organizations as well that are a bit scared to have this open dialogue. And I'm going to say to you, the more you try to suppress the dialogue in terms of what's going on in our country today, the harder it's going to be later on. You have to encourage open dialogue, even if you don't have the answers. And we're going to talk about it in a minute. You got to model vulnerability. Oh my God, there's that V word. Nobody wants to be vulnerable. Nobody wants that. But here's the truth, it's what's needed right now. People need to see real leaders leading at this moment. And that means you showing up, modeling, being vulnerable, and learning from mistakes. Because I don't think right now there's major wrong and right answers. I think everybody's trying to figure it out. You got to foster inclusion and acknowledge people's contributions. There are people who are still standing up for what they believe in. You are probably one of them. You're here. I mean, and so I tend to think that if you're on this webinar today, you're one of those people who are standing up for what you value. And so you have to continue to foster that within your organization, within your team. And then you have to provide constructive, solution-oriented feedback. Now, listen, solution-oriented feedback doesn't mean always having the exact answers of what to do, right? I think that a lot of us are grappling with what's the right thing to do. Whereas I think right now, what we need to be asking ourselves, what's the best thing to do right now? What's the best thing? Because I don't think there is a right thing at the moment. What's the best thing? And so, of course, here at PCADI, we arm managers and executives with these solutions that I'm going to actually share with you today. So, we're going to go over 6 steps. And these 6 steps are steps that I have really been working with a lot of organizations with. And so the steps are literally practical that you can take from this presentation today and implement. But if you don't implement it, then, it's a waste. I mean, I don't want you to be here because we know that nobody got time to waste. And so these are tools and strategies that I have literally been helping other organizations implement on a personal basis. And so I wanted to, as I was putting this, webinar together, I was like, what are the 6 main things that I have been sharing with organizations to do? And I wanted to bring them here today. And like I said, at the end, hopefully we'll have some time for a little bit of Q&A, but I really want to dig into these for you first. So number 1, acknowledge the reality out loud. So out loud is what it means to you, right? A lot of people think I mean publicly display, what's going on. If that's not right for your organization, that's not what you have to do. When I say out loud, I mean really to your team at least, to your company at least, right? Silence breeds fear. And what's happening in our country today is that there is a lot of fear mongering going on. And a lot of people are so scared that they are silent. And I'm not saying that everybody needs to get on social media and put out these huge statements like everybody did during George Floyd or anything like that. I'm not saying that that has to happen in this moment. What I am saying is that when we are silent and nobody hears from us, then the side who is putting out all this fear automatically thinks they're winning, and then everybody else thinks they're winning too, because nobody's talking. The people you do need to talk to, though, if you're not talking in public, that's fine. The people you need to talk to are the people in your organization, the people on your team. I truly believe that transparency changes everything, right? So, being the CEO of somewhat of a diversity company, coaching company, is and it's in our name. So it's no surprise. We can't hide. Oh, so there's no surprise in terms of what we do. But I have had to put out the message to several of our clients that we are doubling down on diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is what our company was built on, and I stand firm on that. Is is there backlash? Has there been some backlash? Absolutely. But here's the thing about that, and I want to say this to you all because I get this question all the time from organizations when we're talking about like how do you language DEI nowadays and everything like that. I can't tell you that for your specific company on this moment, right? Like we have, consulting calls that are available for you all, if that's something you want to dig into for your specific organization. But depending on your values and where you want to go long term is what I think you really should be also focused on. You can language this thing in the way that makes the most sense for you, but you have to understand that when you take a stand on something that is important, that there's probably always going to be some fallout. And I hate to say that to some of y'all, but I'm a realist. Um, there's always going to be some type of fallout on the back end, whether it's going to be some people who don't like what you say, some people who are going to still threaten what you say, funding potentially could be taken away. There's always some fallout when you decide to stand firm on your values. It just is. So, have we gotten contracts from the federal government taken away from our organization? Absolutely. Is that a fallout that I'm willing to ride out? Yeah, because I believe that we all belong here. And I'm going to believe that to the day I die. And I'm going to continue to fight the good fight until the day I die. So silence breeds fear. So acknowledge the broader context of what's going on in in the world. So within your organization, that's your first obligation. Your first obligation is not to the rest of the world, but it is to your organization. It is to your team. It is to your people. You cannot stay silent while all this stuff is going on. I'm not saying you have to have the answers. I'm just saying you need to at least acknowledge it. Let your team know that you see what's happening and that it matters to you. And another thing you say is, I know a lot is happening right now with DEI programming being dismantled in some companies. I want you to know that our team, we are still committed to inclusion, if that's your stance. But I think that y'all are all here. So it's probably your stance. I'm just assuming though. Okay, so this is the, if you haven't done anything else around what's happening in our country today, I really, really want you to take this one and walk out of this webinar and go do it. This one, if you don't do nothing else, go do this to your teams. Number two, double down on empathy. There's that E word. So what is actual empathy? Because I know that word is, one of those words that you may hear a lot. Being a positive psychologist, we talk about empathy all the time. So empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Some people, you might have heard the term people are empaths. That means they can really, really feel what's going on with other people, some more than others. I'm an empath to a very certain point. I can sit and watch TV. My friends and my family, they laugh at me because if something is amazing happening and I can sit there and I'd be boo-hooing like I am with that person, like I know them, like they are my best friends because I feel other people's pain. I feel other people's joy. I'm still amazed that I can do this job, that I feel so much empathy for people. It means that you can see through their lens without judgment and being present with their experiences. So at this point, I need you to double down. This moment in our history is not about who you voted for, because from where I sit, everybody going through some difficulty right now. It's hard for everybody. So this is not about who you voted for. It's about understanding that a lot of people right now are suffering. A lot of people are scared. A lot of people are hurting. And so you being able to show up empathetic is going to be a beautiful thing for your employees and for the people in your organization who encounter you. So this isn't just about, checking on task. It's about checking on your people. When was the last time you actually checked on your people? I knew, during the pandemic, we helped a lot of companies transition through that challenging time because that was another challenging time. And in a lot of ways, I've heard that this time feels a bit like that. Just we just don't, we know it feels a lot like that right now. It's kind of what I've heard a lot of. And then we had to transition to virtual. My company was already virtual, so we had a really easy time helping other companies transition to virtual. But a lot of connection and relationship got lost um, when that transition happened. And so I found myself back then often telling people, telling managers, telling leaders to check on your people. And so I'm back to doing that now during this time. So I'm gonna tell you, check on your people because many of us are still virtual, although some of us have had to return back to the office and all of that. We still have a lot of virtual work situations going on. So please, please, please check on your people because people are having a difficult time. So you can ask questions like, how are you feeling with everything that's going on? Is there anything you need from me or the team to feel more supported right now? What you're doing is you're creating an environment of psychological safety. That's what you're doing. Now, most people tell me that, Dr. Kiki, I want to check on my people and I want to hear what they got to say, but I don't have the answers. And I'm going to tell you right now, you don't have to have them. You don't. But what you do have to do is be honest that you don't have them. Why sit and pretend that we have the answers when we don't? We're working on it. All of us are currently working on figuring out the right answers or the best answers for our organizations and for our teams. So the fact that you don't have them right now is okay. And what I do is I show up and say, listen, I want to know how you're doing because we all feeling it. I am too. I might not have all the answers, but I do want to be here to support you. That's creating an organization and a team of psychological safety. Listen with openness. You don't got to try to fix it, but you can listen to try to understand. And sometimes that's all we need. Sometimes that's all we need. I remember, like, so there's always this uh this example of like women going to their men or their husbands. And so like I know I'll go to my husband and his automatic thought is to fix it, fix it, fix it. That's not what people need right now all the time. Some people just need you to hear, hear, hear. I need to be able to share. All right. Practice holding space. This is one of my favorite, but I feel like um it may be a little bit more difficult for some organizations to sometimes do. And here's what I mean by holding space. I mean, creating a supportive, non-judgmental environment where your team members can bring their full selves, their concerns, their fears, their questions, and just be heard. It's not about solving every fear or anxiety. It's about witnessing and validating them. Let your team know that your space is open for conversations, for processing, and simply being real. I need you to reinforce here that no one in this space has to perform, and it's okay for them just to be human. And you might say something like this: "You don't have to have it all together here. This is a space where you can be honest, and I'll listen, even if I can't fix everything." So let me just tell y'all this: I have been doing this for organizations. I did this for organizations. Our company did this for organizations during the pandemic, and we're back to doing this for organizations right now, meaning we're facilitating holding space sessions for organizations because sometimes it's better for leadership to kind of step out and let a professional just kind of hold the space for them, because it's not always about you as a organization or a leader giving them the exact playbook on how you're handling things that are going on in our country. It's about them being able to show up to work and have a space where they can just be. They can just be. I have a small group, and during my small group the other day, if I'm being, really, really, really transparent, I was so emotional about this very topic and the burden and the weight that sometimes I feel for guiding this work, because it's heavy. It can be super heavy to wake up every day and see something that has been stripped away in the name of DEI or what have you, and you have a lived experience. I do, as a Black person, and it can just be disheartening. And then I know it's disheartening for our allies as well to see all of the things that are going through, and then so many people have lost their jobs and all of that. And then, I have friends who are fearful of going to work every single day, that they're going to get an email terminating them on the spot. And I've had a few friends and clients who've already gotten those emails. So you as a manager, you as a leader can hold space. And so the other morning, I'm so grateful that my group held space for me so that I can continue to show up and be the person that I was meant to be in the moment. You are meant to be someone in this moment. You are meant to help someone in this moment. And something as simple as holding space could be the game changing thing that helps the next person through. And so, how this looks is a couple different ways. You can do it on your own personal teams, right? You can hold space in your meetings. You can allow people to just share the thoughts about what's going on. Be honest. If you have answers, awesome. If you don't, okay. But share that up front. But share that this is a time for them to be able to come, to be able to talk about what's going on in their lives. And if you have something to share that can help them in the moment, then do that. If not, then just hold the space. So when we do it at PCADI for the organizations, we come in, we hold a space, and as a positive psychologist and as diversity coaches, we have some solutions that we can, talk to your employees about while we're holding space. And so we'll throw out different things that they can potentially do to walk away and implement into their day to day. So that's how we hold space, and we do it. And it's been very helpful for organizations, but you can do this within your own team. So practice holding space. Oh, here we go. Protect DEI values publicly. Um, and what I mean by this, and I say publicly, it's dual. It can be outwardly if you want it to be, right? When I say outward, meaning outside of the organization, but it's not necessary, but publicly within your organization. Necessary. Necessary. If you believe in this, because you have to understand, psychological safety is a derivative of belonging, right? It creates belonging within organizations, which is a derivative of DNI. So this is why we're having this conversation. They're all connected, no matter how you look at it, right? And so if you want to create psychological safety, you then want to really clarify what your stance is, your personal stance and your team stance. right? You may have a personal stance and you want that personal stance to be also become your team stance. And so you may say something like DNI isn't optional here, it's a part of who we are. That I know that's the stance of my organization, but I understand that we are in some very unprecedented times. So your personal stance may be one thing and your team stance may be the same, but you might have to call it something else. You might have to change languaging. And I've gotten other questions in the past, right? And so I'm trying to think of the questions as we go so that I can kind of like, answer them. And then, like I said, hopefully we'll have a little bit of time in a bit to get some Q&A. But a lot of people have asked me, Dr. Kiki, um, if we change language around DNI, does that mean we're selling out? Does that mean we don't value diversity, equity, inclusion as much as we should? Does that mean, the values that we, set forward, they don't matter or, and I will say this, no, that's not what that means. Right now, we have to do what we need to do to survive in this moment, right? So I'm a realist. A company came to me and I think we got our wires crossed and they said, hey, I think that you mentioned to one of our staff members that you were going to change the DNI language on your website, talking about PCADdy's website. And I'm like, yeah, no. Like I don't remember ever saying that. And I don't even know what I would change it to. Like, it's I don't even know what I would change the languaging to. But here's what I said to them. I said, listen, I get that you're getting pressure from all of these different ways, right? And I understand it. So if need be, don't call us the Positive Psychology Coaching and Diversity Institute on your website. Call us PCADDY. That's our acronym. That's what we go by as well. Call us PCADDY. And I think that was a good solution and a good fix. Can I change everything else? No. But can I work with you so that you can figure out what it should look like in your organization? Absolutely. Because I do know that so many organizations are still committed to this work and still want to do this work, but need some options. So that's just my professional for professional opinion about that one. Um, Here's the thing though, it's the manager's responsibility to lead staff through tough times. Even if upper leadership or the external climate seems to be uncertain. You have a duty to your people to still get up and lead every single day. I love it when senior leadership is on the same page, right? And I'm not telling you to go against your leadership. What I'm saying is that people still need firm and strong leaders to guide them through this situation, even if you don't have all of the answers. And the way that you show up is the way that they're going to perceive what's going on, even in the broader aspect of your organization. You have the ability to create a culture within a culture that's going to be safe. And then, so another thing you can do is advocate for your team internally. That's your role as a manager. You can be the voice when people feel like they can't speak up for themselves. There's so many people who feel like they can't speak up for themselves. I had a call with another organization that I'm doing psychological safety with, and one of their leaders, asked about just how do you message this and how do you move forward when you just you feel the fear of repercussions and stuff like that. And to be honest, this was a white male, and I said, whether you understand it or not, our allies in this, when it comes to, unrep- you know, when it comes to us who are of more diverse backgrounds, our allies can sometimes speak up more than we can because you have more power, more leeway in a certain situation. And so, if you're an ally, I want you to hear the message that I just said. You can speak up for those who are underrepresented, underserved in your organizations, sometimes better than they can. And that's just the truth. I've had so many champions in my life. I honestly wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't have these champions. And it's just the truth of where we are at in our country. So there's here's the V word again. Model vulnerability and imperfection. I need you to know that you don't have to be perfect. I by far am not perfect. I have so many companies looking at Peacaddy for answers, and I try to have the answers for you all. And I do my research, and I show up every single day. But I am also human being, and this affects me just as much as it affects you, if not more, in certain circumstances. It does. And I let that be known. And you need to as well. Clarify your personal stance, your team stance, and just really make sure that you understand and know, and that other people know that you're not perfect. And then lastly, create microcultures of belonging. A lot of times when when we face challenges in our country or just in our world or in our personal lives, you think that you're helpless and you can't do anything about it. Well, let me just tell you, you can, and you can create a microculture of belonging. What that means is even if the larger system feels unstable, you can build safety amongst your team. Even if everything else out here seems like it's crumbling, you can still build safety in your organization with the people who you lead. And you do that by allowing people to show up, share their thoughts, their fears, anything that's going on with them. You create small wins, shared values, and individual contributions. You literally celebrate people who are doing still amazing work, because regardless of what's going on in our country, work still has to be done. We all still running businesses. And I don't know about you, but the goal of business is to ultimately bring in revenue so that you can continue to operate. Even if it's nonprofit, you still have to bring in revenue because you're serving a certain population. So in your little microcosm of your organization or your team, celebrate your people still, because the work still has to continue. You can amplify inclusive behavior. You can say something like, thanks for making space for other voices in that meeting today. That helps create the kind of culture we all want. And then you can do what I like to call micro moments. These are like these one-on-ones or these team huddles that build trust and keeps inclusion alive. I love that. You can't imagine, or I don't have the statistic. I think it is what's the statistic? What was it? Oh my gosh, I can't even think of the statistic, but it's kind of like people would rather have more compliments, more praise than to have more money. You don't understand how far your celebration, your acknowledgement of a person's hard work goes. You don't understand how much that does for a person. And when you're trying to create psychological safety, your ability to still see the work that your employees are doing is critical during this time. I try to make sure that I tell my team that they do a good job and that they're doing a good job in spite of everything else that's going on. Because at the end of the day, work still got to get done, right? So I'm going to leave you with this, and then we'll open it up. This is not just a scary time, it's a leadership moment. People will remember how you showed up right now. Let them remember that you protected their humanity, stood firm on your values, and create a team culture that felt like home. Mm. This is a leadership moment for so many of us. So many of us are only also thinking about the here and now versus what's going to happen in the future. I know that we have to deal with the here and now, and so we're going to do that. But keep in mind that what you do right now will follow you into the future. And so you want to know and you want to stand firm on your values and protect your people and protect ultimately the dignity and the humility that we were founded on in this country. So, with that being said, I think that's it. I would love, 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 love to keep this conversation going. So, please connect with us. You can scan the QR code. We are right here at pcaddy.com as well. Follow us on LinkedIn. We also drop so much knowledge, so many insights on LinkedIn. And then we can also customize trainings just like this for your organization. We have several organizations where we're doing psychological safety trainings with the entire organization. One organization next month, we're going to in person. So we're doing this in person. So we do things in person as well as virtually. So we can support your teams with this. And then if you are grappling with some really tough challenges that your organization is dealing with, which most people are, I implore you to go ahead and reach out to us because we do consulting. And so we've been on the phone with so many organizations recently where we just do consulting to help them get through some of their most challenging situations that they're dealing with. And so we open up the door for you to come and join us in a consulting session or two so that we can see if we can help you as well. Yes. Well, I think I have to look at the team to see if the slides are going to be shared. I do think the presentation will be shared. And so I'll figure out with the team if the slides will be shared as well. Okay, I'm going to stop share so that I can see y'all. And from here, I want to see if you have any questions. And then hopefully, team, I didn't miss any questions because I can't see that far back in the chat. Any questions? Was this helpful? Thumbs up? Yes. Very helpful. Awesome. Love that. Love it, love it, love it. Oh, thank you. Very helpful. Oh, thank you all. I appreciate you all. Awesome. Awesome. Well, if there's no any questions, please, like I said, email us, let us know how we can continue to support you on this journey. We're in it with you. We're all going to make it through. You know what I'm saying? We're all going to make it through. A lot of people ask me, how do you continue? You know, how do you and your team, because it's just not me. This is a whole team effort. How do you all continue to do this? And our thought is that because inherently, what we all believe is that people are inherently good in our country, and that we know that at the end of the day, our goal here is to support each other and that we all matter. Every last one of us matter. And the world would be a different place without any of us, you know? Because like you said, because it needs to be done. because it has to be done. So if you're asking yourself, why won't people do something? Hmm, maybe you need to be asking yourself that because this is a leadership moment. It's a leadership moment. All right. Thank you all. I appreciate you all for being here. And I look forward to being able to support some of your organizations in a more personal way. But until then, you all, you see my son? You all have the ability to go out and create your own happiness. So go ahead and be the joy and the light that people need. Bye.